hope you hear me. We should not forget that the culture called modern in the last century, up to the three-quarters of the 20th century, was 1% modern and 99% pre-Aristotelic. Why? Because science was not part of this so-called culture. Next. Proof. The great discovery of nuclear fission was given as the proof that science produces weapons 1,000,000 times more powerful than all known weapons. So this was the value of science. In other words, the culture of this time was without any value given to science. Science was the technology which allowed Hiroshima and Nagasaki to take place. For example, no heads of state, no political leaders had the courage and the intellectual power of defending science. Next. John Paul II is the Pope who has revived science and scientific culture. Next. Go. Science and technology are two completely different sources of knowledge. And Hiroshima and Nagasaki is not due to science, but to technology. And another very important contribution of John Paul II was that science and faith are gifts of God. And this is a very important step forward in the culture of our time. As you know, we use centimeter, gram, and second to measure length, mass, energy, and time. Can the world logic depend on what is the rhythm of our heart? No. In fact, the fact that science is gift of God is demonstrated by the speed of light, c, the Planck constant, h, and the Newton constant. Next. The use of science is not science, said John Paul II, but technology. Go. Man could perish from the effects of technology that he himself develops, not from the truths that he discovers by means of scientific research. Next. The modern culture has to distinguish science from technology. The use of science is not anymore science. This is why technology could either be beneficial or harmful to life's values and human dignity. Go. What about the value of science? This is a very important point because the value of science were considered zero by the so-called modern culture. And John Paul II said, science and faith are both gifts of God. John Paul II brought science and these values to the same level as the faith. What about proof? What is the proof that this is correct? Before John Paul II, the basic structure of fundamental units were centimeter for space, gram for mass energy, and second for time. Can the logic of the world depend on these units? After the rebirth of science, the fundamental units are totally different. The velocity of light, Planck constant, and Newton constant. These are the fundamental units which are at the basis of our understanding the logic of the universe. These three quantities never change with time. For these units, it is as if time did not exist. These quantities govern the logic of the universe, from the subnuclear universe to the one made with stars and galaxies. Go. From these units, the following values come. 10 to the minus 33 centimeters, 10 to the minus 5 grams, and 10 to the minus 44 seconds. Please No, don't change. Go back. 10 to the minus 44 seconds is the time, the correct amount of time needed to understand the logic of nature. Can this be considered as something which everybody understood? No. And what are these units? We will see in a second what they are, but these are the basis of the logic which governs the universe. Next. These values are in the evolution of the universe from the first instant to now. These are the fundamental quantities. Next. And this is where this is proved. And the first point on this graph is where our universe started from. And the last point is where we are now. If you look at the horizontal axis, you will find that the radius of the universe is 10 to the 29 centimeters. And the mass is 10 to the 55 grams. This is our universe now. And this started with 10 to the minus 5 grams down on the left, and to the minus, no, lasci il grafico, and to the Planck, these two quantities, the first point in this graph is where we start from. Next. Go. Next. And this is a very interesting graph. Look at the lowest point on the graph. This is the density of our universe now. Can anybody explain why our universe now is 98% empty? No one but this graph. And this is what? How this happens? What is the starting point? On the graph is the up point there called rho Planck. So we can describe with the density of the Planck universe, which is on the top, and the universe density now strongly correlated as demonstrated in this graph. Next. Go on. Go. How this did happen? By an act of intellectual humility, the recognition that the author of the logic of nature is more intelligent than any of us, philosophers, thinkers, mathematicians, logicians, and scientists. Next. These two graphs could not have been there without the great achievements of Galilean science. Go. John Paul II rehabilitated Galileo Galilei, who wanted to search in the stones the imprints of the Creator. This is not my version of the fact. It is what Galilei wrote. These graphs are the result of the fact that it is not enough to be intelligent to discover the logic chosen by the one who made the world. It is necessary to ask him one question at the time, reductionism. And we will see why this is a very important point. Next. During 100,000 of years, all civilization had seen of intellectual arrogance. Just be smart to understand the logic that ruled the world. Next. We scientists cannot remain silent when the great public is bombarded with topics such as complexity is the new science, the reductionism is over, all sciences must be holistic. These are not just inventions of Zichichi. In the United States, the reductionism is over allowed people to stop the most important laboratory in the state, the Fermi Lab. The artificial intelligence will overcome human intelligence. This is wrong. Chaos is the origin of life, and this is wrong. Go on. The global warming, the energy crisis, the information security, the environment, the intelligent design, the evolution, and problems coming from the wall of our knowledge. We cannot remain silent. Next. Now again, the culture of our time remains silent, gone. The answer must be the wall of our knowledge and the mathematical rigor needed to solve any problem, go. The wall of our knowledge allows us to discover that we are the only form of living matter having the privilege of reason. And the reason is a gift of God. The proof is here. Can anybody demonstrate that from chaotic system you get out reason, which means permanent collective memory, better known as written language, rigorous theoretical logic, better known as mathematics, and rigorous experimental logic, better known as science, go. Thus confirming both science has been able to discover asking to the Creator one question at a time, which means reductionism. And this is the proof of what we have already said before. Go. Holism is not a new science, as people claim now. The atheistic culture claims that holism is a new science. Holism is the very old way of thinking that we could discover the logic of nature without asking any question to the fellow who created the universe. This is holism. The answer must be the wall of our knowledge and the mathematical rigor needed to solve any problem. We should not forget that science is the only source of knowledge we have on the logic of the universe. And this is the synthesis of the wall of our knowledge. And from this synthesis, you see that 3 big bangs are needed for us to be here. If it was not for the third big bang, I could not speak to you, and you could not understand me. The first big bang is on the left, is the transition from vacuum to the universe. BB2, Big Bang 2, is the transition from the universe made with inert matter to the universe made with life, matter with life. The Big Bang 2 has been forgotten for an enormous amount of decades. And when in this same lecture hall we proposed the existence of this Big Bang, it was not so obvious that the modern culture considered this as an important step. Now, the Big Bang 2, there are hundreds of labs, and some of these labs are secret labs, where they study Big Bang 2, which is called the problem of minimal life. Thousands of scientists are now, while we are talking, engaged in understanding how many pieces of inert matter you need in order to produce the first example of living matter. This is Big Bang 2. The wall of our knowledge allows us to understand that it is not enough Big Bang 2. The problem of minimal life is a fundamental condition, but there are 100,000 forms of life, vegetal, animal, and these are synthesized in the graph. And in the graph, if you go on along the line, I am sorry I don't have a way to indicate this, but if you look at the universe on the right, you find Big Bang 3, which is the transition from form of matters.
Time is over, please. 1 minute more.
From this synthesis, you find that this is where modern culture is. Next. The origin of our world is with 43 dimensions. In our world, we have 1, 2, and 3 space dimensions. The 4th dimension is time. When space and time became the object of scientific studies, 1905, Einstein said, space is the object which needs the meter to be known, and time is what we measure with our clock. Well, and these are 4 dimensions, but we are coming, the origin of our world is 43 dimensions. We cannot imagine because our brain is made in 4 dimensions. We can only describe mathematically. Could you go to the end of this report? Go on. We told him it would have been impossible to get the whole of our knowledge and the discovery of the superworld. But this is what we are made of. The mathematics needed is here. I will show the mathematics. Just a moment. This is a system of differential nonlinear equations coupled. When people speak about all the points which I have synthesized a few minutes ago, we should answer saying, here is the mathematics needed. With this mathematics, you can describe any phenomenon where quantities all function of a variable boom, which could be space, time, energy, whatever you want. And this variable play a fundamental role. Go. With this mathematics, we study all problems which I have mentioned before, and we discover that speaking in terms of fundamental mathematics, there are 72 planetary emergencies and no analytic solution for the climate. And this is a note which I have no time to discuss. Go on to the end. Go on. Go on. Go on. All I'm saying here has been the fundamental discussion in Poland, where the 40th anniversary of John Paul II has been celebrated. I have no time to illustrate to you all this, but it has been an extremely important set of reports. Go. John Paul II is the Pope who has revived science and scientific culture. Thank you.